Hello, my amazing English learners. Rachel here, and I can't wait to dive into today's topic with you.
And I'm Jake. Good to see you all again. So today, we're talking about something that I know drives a lot of you crazy. How to speak English without overthinking every single word. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like your brain just freezes up and you're standing there going, um, uh, wait, how do I say this?
Exactly. By the end of today's episode, you'll have some real strategies to help your English flow more naturally. We're going to share some secrets that even native speakers use.
And here's the thing that might surprise you. Most of us native speakers, we make mistakes all the time, but we keep talking anyway.
That's the key right there. So stick with us because we're about to change how you think about speaking English forever. So, Rachel, let me ask you something. When you were learning Spanish, did you ever have that moment where you just couldn't get the words out?
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember being in a cafe in Barcelona and I wanted to order a sandwich. Simple, right? But I stood there for like 30 seconds just thinking about verb conjugations.
That's so relatable. And what happened?
Well, the guy behind the counter was super patient. He just smiled and waited. Finally, I just pointed at the menu and said, Eso, por favor, which basically means that one, please.
See, that's perfect. You communicated, right? You got your sandwich.
Exactly. And that's what our listeners need to understand. Communication isn't about perfect grammar, it's about getting your message across.
So true. You know what I think the biggest problem is? We put way too much pressure on ourselves.
Right. Like, imagine if every time you spoke in your native language, you stopped to think, is this the right word? Am I using proper grammar? You'd never finish a sentence.
Exactly. I'd be like, I, think? No, wait. I believe? No. I feel like,
Oh no, you're doing it right now.
I know, right? It's crazy how overthinking just makes everything worse.
So let's talk about some practical tips. Jake, what's the first thing you tell someone who's struggling with this?
Well, I'd say start small. Don't try to have complex conversations right away. Practice with simple stuff first,
Like what?
like describing your day. Instead of thinking, I must use perfect past tense, just say, today I woke up at 7, I eat 8, breakfast, then I went to work.
That's actually brilliant. You're self correcting as you go, but you're still talking. The words are flowing.
Right. And here's the thing. Native speakers self-correct too. We're always going, wait, no, that's not what I meant. Or, actually, let me say that differently.
Ooh, that reminds me of something. Jake, have you ever noticed how we use filler words?
You mean like and well and you know?
Exactly. Those aren't mistakes, they're actually tools. They give your brain time to think while keeping the conversation going.
That's so smart. So instead of complete silence while you're thinking, you can say, well, let me think about that. Or, that's a good question.
Yes. And there's another trick I love. When you don't know a word, just describe it.
Like what?
Okay. So let's say you can't remember the word screwdriver. Instead of stopping and getting frustrated, you could say, you know, that tool, the one you use to turn screws.
Ah, that's brilliant. You're still communicating, even without the exact word.
Exactly. I call it talking around the word. It's like you're building a bridge to your meaning.
I love that. Talking around the word. And honestly, sometimes the description is clearer than the actual word anyway.
So true. Now, let's talk about something else. Jake, what about when you're worried about your accent?
Oh, man, that's a big one. I have friends from all over the world, and they're always apologizing for their accent. But here's the thing.
What?
Accents are beautiful. They tell your story. When I hear someone with an accent, I don't think, oh, their English is bad. I think, wow, they speak multiple languages.
That's such a good point. And you know what? Some of the most confident English speakers I know have strong accents. They just own it.
Right. Like they're not trying to sound like they're from California or London. They're just focused on being understood.
And that brings us to another important point. Jake, what's more important, sounding perfect or being understood?
Being understood, definitely. I mean, think about it. If someone says, I go to store yesterday, do you understand them?
Of course, the grammar isn't perfect, but the message is crystal clear.
Exactly. And here's something interesting. When you focus on being understood instead of being perfect, your English actually improves faster.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because you're practicing real communication. You're not just memorizing rules, you're actually using the language.
That makes so much sense. It's like learning to swim by jumping in the water, not by reading about swimming.
Perfect analogy. And speaking of practicing, let's talk about something that really helps. Talking to yourself.
Ooh, I love this topic. Jake, do you talk to yourself?
All the time, don't you?
Absolutely. But I mean, talking to yourself in English if you're learning. Like when you're cooking, describe what you're doing. Now I'm chopping the onions. Ooh, this is making me cry.
Yes, or when you're getting dressed. Should I wear the blue shirt or the red one? I think I'll go with blue because it matches my jeans.
And here's the best part, there's no pressure. You can make mistakes, you can pause, you can start over. It's just you.
Exactly. And you know what else is great about this? You start to notice patterns in your thinking.
What do you mean?
Like maybe you always struggle with certain words or phrases. When you're talking to yourself, you can catch these patterns and work on them.
That's so smart. It's like being your own English teacher.
Right. And another thing, when you talk to yourself, you're not translating from your native language. You're thinking directly in English.
Ooh, that's huge. Translation is such a speed bump when you're trying to speak fluently.
Totally. It's like if you're translating, you're taking the long way around. But when you think directly in English, it's a straight line from thought to speech.
And how do you develop that? The thinking directly in English part.
Practice, practice, practice. Start with simple things, like instead of thinking, I need water in your language, and then translating, just think, I'm thirsty directly in English.
And emotions are great for this too. When something surprises you, don't think about it, just react. Wow. Oh no. That's amazing.
Yes, emotional reactions are so natural. They bypass the thinking part of your brain.
Speaking of emotions, let's talk about fear. Jake, why do you think people are so afraid to make mistakes in English?
Hmm, I think it's because we're taught that mistakes are bad. Like in school, mistakes mean lower grades.
But in real life, mistakes are how we learn. Think about how babies learn to talk. They make sounds, they get responses, they adjust.
Right. They don't worry about perfect grammar. They just communicate. Want milk. Go outside. More cookies.
More cookies, that's universal.
Exactly. And you know what? Even as adults, we can learn from that approach. Start with the basics, focus on communication, and build from there.
And here's something that might surprise our listeners. Most native speakers won't correct you unless you ask them to.
That's so true. We're usually just happy to understand what you're saying. We're not sitting there judging your grammar.
And if someone does correct you in a mean way, that says more about them than about your English.
Absolutely. Most people are patient and helpful. They remember what it's like to learn something new.
So let's give our listeners some homework. Jake, what's one thing they can do this week to practice speaking without overthinking?
Ooh, good question. I'd say pick one routine activity, maybe brushing your teeth or making coffee. And every time you do it, describe what you're doing out loud in English.
I love that. So specific and doable. What about you, Rachel? What would you suggest? I'd say have a conversation with yourself in the mirror. It sounds silly, but it works. Pretend you're meeting someone new. Introduce yourself, ask questions, answer them.
That's brilliant. And you get to practice both sides of the conversation.
Exactly. Plus, you can see your facial expressions, which helps with natural communication.
And here's the key for both of these exercises. Don't stop to correct yourself. Just keep talking. If you make a mistake, acknowledge it and move on.
Right. Like today, went to the store. Bought some apples. You're learning as you go.
Perfect. And remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress.
And communication. Always communication first.
So true. You know what, Rachel? I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We really have. I hope our listeners are feeling more confident about speaking English without overthinking.
Me too. And remember, everyone, even native speakers have days where words don't come easily. It's totally normal.
Absolutely. Be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and just keep talking. All right, let's wrap this up. So today, we talked about how to speak English without overthinking every single word.
Right. We covered talking to yourself, using filler words, describing words you don't know, and focusing on communication over perfection.
And we talked about embracing your accent, not being afraid of mistakes, and practicing with simple, everyday activities.
The key takeaway? Your English doesn't have to be perfect to be effective. Communication is the goal, not perfection.
So here's my question for you. Which tip are you going to try first? The mirror conversation, describing your daily activities, or maybe just using more filler words to give yourself thinking time?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. We love hearing about your English learning journey.
And if this episode helped you feel more confident about speaking English, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps other learners find us.
And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We post new conversations like this every week to help you improve your English naturally.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep talking, and remember, you've got this.
See you soon, everyone.
Bye.